Hi, friends. Resistance isn't what we think that it is. Resistance is a sign that our ego is in the house. And sometimes our ego wants to have a little house party. And we have to determine if this is going to work with us or not. See, resistance is an aspect of the ego and its response to something it's afraid of. And see, the problem is that the ego expression of our nature, which is solely designed to help us to survive, to keep us safe, the problem is that just because we're facing something we're afraid of does not mean that we're in any way unsafe. And let's define safety. Okay, safety from this vein, and what I'm speaking of is there is a threatening life or death situation. 95% of the time, maybe even more than that, it really isn't an actual life or death situation. Now, it may have the ego feeling like, this is the death of me, which it's not really going to die, but the ego does need to take a subordinate position within the landscape of our consciousness and the truth of who we are. What if we started seeing resistance as a sign that's calling us forward to shift our perspective around how we view fear? What happens is that we live our life day to day coming from our current concept, our self-image, or the way we view ourselves. And the only way that we're going to grow is that we have to be able to step up and out of that which is familiar into an expanded concept of self. Well, that can really produce some fear, even some anxiety, because anything that's not familiar often sends the ego reeling. And this is why it's so incredibly important that not only do we want to learn how to reframe this experience, but we've got to understand that if we're going to grow, we are going to have to go through this experience. And then we begin to see that on the other side of it, for the bigger game, life is incredibly beautiful. We want to become incredibly skilled and proficient at making the hard easy, at making fear and its existence be a sign that we are growing. Fear is a sign of our evolution. We're expanding, we're growing, we're moving beyond ourselves. Like a small baby learning how to walk, when they first get up on their two little feet, they're a little wobbly. I saw a little baby that just learned to walk this morning on my walk. She comes right up to India, my dog, so excited, and then all of a sudden she was like, and her little legs got all wobbly and all that, because it was almost like for the moment, she remembered who she was, and then all of a sudden, she remembered what the ego said she was. Got a little wobbly, but you know what? She didn't give up. I just stood there steady with India, and she steadied her little legs, and she got herself a little bit closer. We must be able to reframe the way we view resistance, see it as a sign that evolution and our own growth is right there in front of us. And we've got to learn how to strengthen our material body, root ourselves in, and really learning how to face that. And we do this by being very, very clear on what direction we're headed. The physical body, in and of itself, it does what our mind tells it to do. Or let me put it this way, more what our mind has trained it to do. Because our body responds to the patterns or habits that have created a certain rhythm that's held over time that has us repeating the same cycles. Well, you know what? When we start throwing in new patterns of thought, and there's a new rhythm, a new steady and stable and powerful rhythm, well, there's a new cycle about to be born, and that new cycle is the new concept of ourself, the expanded concept of ourself. Why is this so important? Because we were born to grow. We were born to continuously expand the concept of who we currently are. We might even call this healing. Because to heal is to fully realize to the most extreme corner that we can go to realize the truth of who we are. We must be able to steady and stable the material body, so we train the nervous system. We train the nervous system to be able to accept the new pattern of thought, and that as we're training our nervous system, we create a new rhythm of response. It becomes more wave-like, our our vibration becomes more steady. And as we come into a more steady, energetic experience, we're then strengthening our ability, just like strengthening a muscle. Yep, I got my muscles growing stronger. Strengthening our muscles to be able to hold a higher frequency. The higher frequency of an expanded identity. An identity that we are completely upgrading and recoding from an old identity. We are expanding our capacities for abundance. We're expanding our capacity and the power to be seen and the impact that we have within our immediate lives, family, community, the rest of the world, and ultimately the cosmos. Fear is a sign that we're growing. You can do this. I believe in you. I believe in you as I believe in myself. And I believe in myself, in my capacity, and my ability to be aligned with the force of the universe. And I hold that for you as well. Namaste.